50 members who are registered for this webinar on PLM. Thank you very much. Let me introduce the today's speaker. Speaker's name is Mr. Raghuram Reddy Terra. He's a serial entrepreneur, technology evangelist, and he's having 20 plus years of experience in this industry. He's a founder and CEO of Cassini PLM. Cassini PLM, we would proudly say that it is the first and only PLM company in India. Previously, he was a founder and CTO of Perception Software, a US-based company that built enterprise applications for manufacturing and product operations. Over the years, he worked on a number of technology solutions, helping Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. After spending 18 years in US and exiting from Perception, he returned to India permanently to start Cassini PLM. With that, I will let him take over. Raghuram, please.
Praveen, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. Certainly 50 plus, I think 50 plus attendees on this webinar is quite encouraging. So thank you for taking the time to join the webinar today. Just some background on where I come from and where we are today and where we are heading as a company. As Praveen has already said, this is my second company, Cassini PLM. I've been in the PLM space for 20 plus years. I went to the States in '96. I was there until 2014. And I returned to India with one objective of building a company. We're building a product company, Indian product company. And back in 2014, when we got started, we had one mission, which was basically building a cloud-based solution for manufacturing as well as construction. Those are the two sectors that really needed a solution for the cloud. My background, I've been in the PLM space, worked in PLM with all the PLMs out there, Team Center, Agile PLM, in eMatrix back then, which was acquired by Novia, worked with all the CAD vendors, worked with all the PDM systems. So I was, all of my career was built on the enterprise software, primarily focused on PLM, PDM, and XCAD. I will say XCAD because it's MCAD and ECAD as well. My first job after my master's was at PTC. So I stayed there for a while and then moved over to the ECAD side, building enterprise applications for the ECAD world. We were the first ones to build a product for PLM back in, I think, 1997, 98. With that, one of the conversations that we started recently is the context of most of the manufacturing. At least some companies are thinking of getting out of China and taking that manufacturing to India. And what we are interested in is taking this opportunity to bring the importance of PLM to the manufacturing sector in India. And I have to say that in 5 years I've spent with a number of customers in the manufacturing space. It's unfortunate that not many companies do understand the importance, and I think they always gravitate towards the ERP. And this is one of the things I want to focus on today's presentation, is how PLM and ERP is different, but they are at the same time they are complementary to each other, right? So with that, what is PLM and how does PLM help a company that actually builds a product from its inceptual stage to the design, to the manufacturing, and the end of life? It has its own role apart from the ERP, which I'll talk a little bit about on a different slide. But product lifecycle management basically is the managing of the entire life cycle of a product from inception through engineering, design, and manufacturing, and even service after, if you have a large engine or, some machine tool that you sell it to your customer, there's always the service part, and then finally the disposal or the end of life of the manufacturing part. What PLM really brings together is the people, data, processes, and the business systems to provide what we call in the PLM world the single source of truth for the product, right? Okay, so this is the important.
Sorry, Raghuram. Can you share the presentation? I think we are unable to see the presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see. I think. Everyone see my screen now?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, so that's what was PLM and what it does. This is the slide I want to spend a little bit of time to understand, so that everybody understand the role of PLM and ERP in a product development and manufacturing companies. PLM basically focuses on the upstream product development activities from product requirements, design phase, the planning of the product development, the bill of material, the change management, the process planning, and the actual manufacturing, where we have the manufacturing operations management and the MES type, the quality and compliance, and also the some aspect of the post-sale services that you have to manage. Whereas ERP, if you look at it, it's mostly on the commercialization of the product. Once the product, I shouldn't say once the product, but after the product has been manufactured, and even to some extent during the manufacturing, the customer and the order management, the HR and resource planning, procurement and inventory management, again, some of the material management comes into play during the manufacturing phase of the product, and finally the accounting and finances. So there's certainly clear delineation of roles for both systems, and certainly some companies have used ERP for some of the functions on the product development side, but it's a very difficult process to manage PLM processes inside ERP, because ERP wasn't built for that purpose. So a lot of the companies in India have certainly implemented ERP today to address the challenges, to automate a lot of the business processes. But certainly the PLM adoption in India has a long way to go. And part of that is certainly customers do not have the proper understanding of the role and the importance of PLM, and they always mix these two functions. The benefits of PLM are not fully realized until you have a fully defined process and product development methodology, and PLM is one of the tools that will help you streamline your product development. What are the benefits of PLM, right? If you look at the overall benefits of PLM, you have your single source of truth. When you take a manufactured product, right now we are only focused on discrete manufacturing. We're not talking about process industry, just pure discrete manufacturing like automotive, aerospace, machine tools, equipment, industrial equipment, things like that. PLM provides the single source of truth, right? If fully implemented properly, from the design stage, even before the design stage, the requirements, the concepts, and the ideas, the innovation management certainly has become part of PLM in the last couple of years, because that's where the product lifecycle really starts with an idea, and then the design happens, prototyping happens, all of that, right? So PLM provides a single platform where you can get all the product related data. in one place, and it helps reduce costs, enhance product quality and reliability. You also bring in supplier integration because in this day and age, you're not just doing everything by yourself, but you're working with OEM partners to build some parts of your product. There's also in the high-tech manufacturing, there's also the compliance risk. They have very stringent rules on RoHS and B compliance, and PLM provides a lot of functionality in managing your compliance of the products, especially in the high-tech manufacturing. Ultimately, all of this leads to the product success. Now, if you look at why the PLM's role has increased over the time in the last couple of years, last 5 to 10 years, or even a little bit before then, is that due to a lot of competition, the product development cycle has shrunk quite a lot. It used to be 18 months, 12 months, but now you have to bring out a product in less than 6 months or so because your competition is bringing out a newer product with better features. So this pressure certainly has added to the product teams. They need to get a product out in a very short cycle with a high quality requirement, and PLM is a platform that really helps them manage all of the processes and data during the product development process. If you look at the product life cycle, it has basically 4 or 5 phases. You define the product, manage all the ideas, requirements, specifications, concept, and design. Then you do the product development, which is design validation, the analysis, if you're doing the CAE, FAE analysis, prototyping before you go to production, pilot release, and product launch. Then finally, you do the build. Basically, whether you do it yourself or you outsource it, the actual product manufacturing happens. Process plans are defined based on your final MBOM and all the resource planning and production processes. Finally, after you release the product to the customer, there's also the service side of things where you have to keep track of the service history, the service BOM, the spare parts, and all of that. So certainly service management plays an important role because it has to tie back to the single source of truth. Any issues that are reported post-sales have to be brought back into the system so that any failure analysis or some product failure or component failure that has to typically, let's say, customer like Cisco, you have a router issue, you call into their support, and they ask you to send you a log file or something, and what they do is they basically file a ticket in their system, but it is sent back to the engineering where sometimes they have to investigate whether there's a component failure or whether there's a design change required, or maybe the manufacturing process was defective and they have to make some changes. So this all requires basically a closed loop system to manage all of the product data. And that is those are the 4 main product lifecycle phases for any product. What are the main focus areas for PLM? Basically, it's systems engineering, the requirements management, coordinate. There are a number of stakeholders involved in the product development. For example, the mechanical guys, the electrical guys, the software guys. Today, these days, software has become part of the product. Every product that is built today has some software component built into it. So management of that software component and its life cycle. We'll talk a little bit about how Git integration with PLM is becoming very important these days. The second focus area is the product and portfolio management. If you're into design, development, and manufacturing of a number of product lines, You need a proper product and portfolio management, how your resources are allocated, how you're doing on the product launch versus the actual planned activities, all of that. So you need a streamlined process and a tool to manage all of your product and portfolios. Then comes the actual product design and development, where you have your ECAD, MCAD, and ECAD. All of that have to be managed, right? So simulation and rapid prototyping. These days, people are using 3D printing for their prototyping as well. So that is the next focus area. The next one is the manufacturing process management, where this is where after your design is done and ready to be released, and you have started with the CAD data management. If you look at the you know generation 1, generation 2, PLM 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Now we are at 4.0. People, the role of PLM has evolved over time. When it was only focused on CAD data management, but then when the manufacturing and the process and the globalization happened, its role has changed, where you had to manage the entire life cycle. So that has happened for a number of years, and it worked quite well. Companies who successfully implemented PLM, got a lot of mileage out of the PLM implementation, a lot of savings, product quality improved. They were able to release a product very quickly. All of that happened, but then you see some of the costs associated with the PLM, because its role has increased and the functions have increased over time. Right. Okay, with that, we'll jump quickly into what is Cassini PLM. And Cassini PLM is a cloud-based PLM system which provides end-to-end solution for all of the product development, from covering all 4 stages of the product life cycle, right? So from innovation, conceptual stage, to the requirements management. All of these are modules built into the system. We have tier pricing depending upon what you do as a company, on what modules that you want to include in the subscription. But it does cover all of the phases of your product life cycle. Right? We have the product engineering teams, product operations teams, and also the product manufacturing and the quality people. The functions are available today. We'll just quickly go through each module, because if you look at the product development life cycle, every stage of the product development requires to manage a lot of processes and data that gets generated and managed during each life cycle stage. So depending upon where you are in the life cycle, different aspects of the product have to be managed, and it all starts off with the concept and the idea, and where whether your own team comes up with the product idea, or based on your interaction with your customer, you get you get various ideas, or at least improving your existing products, right? All of that have to be managed. Finally, it has to go through the sale to the customer, right? Requirements management has become very important in the modern product development, whether as we have seen on the software side. Similarly, when you are building a product, requirements management is a critical step in the process, where you have to properly define the requirements. Exactly all the subsystems that have to be defined with their requirements, their interaction with the other subsystems, all of that, and track the changes. Maybe down the halfway. In larger companies, project management becomes very critical. And when I say project management, this is every company, when they are building out a product, they manage it as a project, right? They have a team of engineers that are part of the product. team, the project, the MCAD guys, the ECAD guys, the software guys on the design side, the product operations guys who interface with the manufacturing. They're part of the project, because if you're doing multiple products, then you have to build these teams and manage the development as a single project. So manufacturing, where all of your design data will be managed, right? All the initial revisions and the versions of the design files, whether it is MCAD or ECAD, all of your drawings and documents have to be properly managed. Your bill of materials have to be managed. Not only bill of materials, but also, you know, if you're doing variations of your product, you have to manage your BOM configurations, effectivity, all of that have to be managed. The change management is part of it, where, you know, proper change management processes are put in place, and you track the approvals and the workflows of the changes that are that have to go into the product. Visual collaboration has become important for downstream people, where once the design is finalized, whether it is 2D or 3D models have to be shared with your manufacturing team. Pretty much captures what is it that goes into the system while you are in the design phase of your product. You have the mechanical CAD guys who basically, for example, if you take this example, you are into building electronic control units for the automotive industry, and you have the physical casing that you know, where the mechanical guys design that. You have the PCB and the electronic circuitry that goes into it. Then you have the software component that manages the electronic control unit, and then you have the final, you know, if you put together the MBOM, you have the manual that goes with it, right, which is a PDF document which includes some multimedia, all of that, right? If you take a product and take all the item types that go into the bill of material, it's not just one mechanical item, but all of these components where the origin of the data is in different domains, right? The mechanical guys use their own tools, the ECAD guys use their own tools, software, you know, Git and GitHub, the simulation guys, where you have to PLM board. Again, I'll just zip through this, but we have both the design BOM coming from the CAD tools and the MBOM, and how effectively you manage these both BOMs is very important. You have the traceability back to the design after the product has been manufactured. Excuse me. BOM redlining. When you're making changes to your product, you take it through a formal change management process where you have to define an ECO and ECR, and redlining helps to see the difference between the BOM from one revision to the other. I've already touched about BOM configurations and variant management. BOM roll-up reports are becoming important for a number of things. Cost roll-up, certainly you want to see what the material cost is going to be, but also the compliance. There is document bill of materials where you have to have specifications or manuals, all of that to be linked with the items when they go into production. Visual collaboration, being able to view the 2D and 3D models without the tool. CAD tools are very expensive, but since downstream process people do not have a CAD tool, and it's very expensive to get a license for the CAD tool, they should be able to still view the 2D drawings and 3D models without the need for the license. And we have visual collaboration built into the tool. It's not only for the downstream people, but also when you are in the product development stages, you should be able to communicate changes with the other team members. So you do markup, and all of that is available in the visual collaboration. We have a very robust workflow engine built into the system. Workflows are important because every company is unique in their own workflows and processes. So they should be able to customize some of the aspects of PLM to meet their needs. So workflow is one of the tools that makes it possible to customize according to your processes is a very critical part of PLM. It has a very important role in PLM, where after a product has been released and new changes have to be made, since there are so many stakeholders involved in the product development life cycle, all of them have to be involved in this process. So change management formalizes that process and has a number of features in place in Cassini PLM, where it involves all the stakeholders. And Germany, they have very strict compliance requirements. So you need a system to manage, make sure your product is compliant based on the materials, all of that. So we have a compliance module built into Cassini PLM. Process planning, again, I'll just quickly go through. This is where after your MBOM has been defined, you have to define the bill of process. This is where you define the actual manufacturing process, all the steps and operations that are involved for each BOM item in the bill of material, and you define the work instructions for each step, and then you link this after the bill of process is tied to the revision of the product, then it goes into the manufacturing. Supplier and vendor collaboration and management has become a key role in PLM, where you're procuring a lot of components and parts from various vendors, and supply chain has become very important as part of your product team. So companies have formalized this process of managing their vendors and the parts they buy in. In Cassini, we have the approved manufacturer list and the approved vendor list, and you link their manufactured parts with the items, and you track, the changes that you make based on the quality of the parts that are being supplied. You have the preferred vendors, and you change accordingly based on maybe their lead times, their quality parameters. If they are not meeting the required quality parameters, you can always change the vendors. And so proper methodology is required, and we have a vendor management module built into the Cassini PLM. Manufacturing operations management. This is where the actual manufacturing happens. Once you define the bill of process, you go into manufacturing, and there are a number of things that go into play. You have to define. These are the things that go on the shop floor, right? So PLM is kind of a system where it provides, we call the shop floor to top floor visibility, where people can, monitor the manufacturing operations, see where the production orders are, all of that, and then the production planning and scheduling, managing the work centers, all the resources that go into production, the quality parameters and the sampling that happens to manage. Very important integral part of the PLM system, where you have to manage your NCRs, non-conformance reports, QCRs and deviations and problem reports, and then all the ECRs, engineering change requests, and the MCRs and MCOs that get generated out of the quality process. And then you look at, the quality of a product is defined at various levels, right? It could be the design level. Maybe the design was not conforming to the requirements. Maybe the manufacturing defect was there. Sometimes in majority, when you release the product to the customer, and you have a support which is linked into the customer, where they call in for any issues. Your service guy goes in there. He already has the service BOM available, because if you go back to the life cycle, you have the as designed, as built, and then finally there is as planned also, but also as serviced is where your spare parts are defined. You track the history. Let's say you are into building large industrial equipment, and you are delivered this to a security. Within the application, we have the authentication, the single sign-on, we have OAuth support. We have the role-based access control, where you can define the users and roles and privileges. There's also very granular access control that Cassini has, where you can define the attribute-based access control, where you can define, saying, a particular user can only edit if the life cycle phase of the item is so and so, right? So that kind of control, it becomes very important when you have complex business. You should be able to export the entire bill of material to ERP. We have a number of dashboards and reports and analytics provided, because again, as you can see, when you have so much data being generated to manage all of the information regarding the product from the initial stages to the final stages, you need a number of tools where you can get a lot of insights into into your product development process. So we have various reports and dashboards that help you get those insights. With that, we are we are based out of Hyderabad, but we also have a majority of our customers are from the US and Germany. Our focus is mostly around medium to large enterprises and the SME type customers. But in Germany, we work with a lot of MSMEs where they understand the benefits of PLM. Most of the high-tech manufacturing companies are from the US. For us, we have a number of customers there. And in India, we have certainly, I think the overwhelming response for this webinar is encouraging, and we want to start a conversation with the companies here in India. And I know some of you have experience working with other PLM vendors. We want you to be part of Cassini PLM ecosystem. We have a number of, we have APIs, we have plugin frameworks where you can build customizations, and there are services is something that is part and parcel of PLM system, but we want to minimize that and do it in such a way that you don't really need to be a programmer to do it. So we're trying to build all of that infrastructure into our platform so that all the at some point we won't be able to build everything by ourselves. So we want to open up the platform to other developers where they can build value-added functions to Cassini PLM. With that, I'll just open up for a few questions here, and you can post your question on the chat window.
Yeah, thank you, Raghuram. Let's.
It's maturing, and we are adding a number of things, development toolkits and REST APIs. All of that will be are documented, and you will be able to build value-added services on Cassini PLM, whether it is customizations or extensions. For example, we just finished an integration with Jira for one of our customers. So we have built a plugin framework where you can bring in not only the data, you can add additional services to the platform, and user interface components can be made available, embedded within the system. And so we have a number of tools.
PLM comes with.
Yeah, so today we provide SolidWorks and Solid Edge, and we're working on one ECAD, which is RTM, and for the software we are bringing in Git and GitHub. The other CAD integrations will come soon. The next ones are NX and CATIA. We will do it later, but Inventor certainly for the Indian market. SolidWorks, Solid Edge, and Inventor are big markets for India. So AutoCAD for 2D drawing certainly.
Alliance, a partnership program for services, or you generally to do it internally for your customers?
No, well, our intention is to bring in SIs into our ecosystem. We want to focus on the product development. We are a product company. We want to we want to keep the services to the minimum, and we'll do some initial service.
So what is the license cost?
I can tell you it will be much cheaper than the ones that you mentioned. This is would you enable any perpetual licenses for SI just so that we can get a feel of the system even before we are able to extend our services? Yes, we have a evaluation program, and certainly for SIs, we can certainly provide an instance where they can get their
Raghuram. Thank you very much, participants. And I would like to reiterate, we are proud to say that Cassini PLM is the only PLM company in India. So I would suggest, because as you all know, because of this COVID-19 situation, most of the manufacturing companies are planning to shift to India. It is very relevant now to start manufacturing, and PLM is the best product which will help you in support systems. So suggest you to pursue this again. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Raghuram.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and follow us on LinkedIn. Visit our website. We'll be posting a lot of content in the coming days about Cassini, and just shoot us an email if you have any questions. DM me on LinkedIn or send me a private email. I'll be happy to respond to your emails.